Good afternoon. My name is Sandy McDonald, and I'm the Director of the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. And we want to welcome you to joining us this afternoon to our CBE, that is County Business Enterprise, Outreach Update on our Broward County Convention Center and Hotel project. This afternoon, we're going to walk you through, and I want to be specific. I'm not going to walk you through, but we're going to have members. We're going to have one of the vice presidents of Balfour Beatty walk you through an overview of exactly where we are with this convention center and hotel project. And in addition, they're going to share with you what opportunities we're currently working with, but more important, especially for my certified small businesses and businesses interested in getting certified, they're going to tell you what we're looking at approximately a year from now. That then will afford you real opportunity to get engaged if you're not engaged, get certified if you're not certified, and more importantly, gather more information. After they come to you and share more of a program overview about the site and the opportunities, I'm then going to come back and tell you more about our program. But in the end, we want to make sure that you recognize, similar to many of our workshops, especially dealing with major county projects, you are aware of how to get involved and how to get information before you are at that last day, that last hour, and say, hey, I didn't know. This is one of those chances and one of our opportunities to get you quality information on a major project here in the county far in advance. So with that, I want to thank you again for joining us. And there's going to be different team members that will be speaking today. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to John Parker. John is the vice president for Balfour Beatty, and he'll start the overview. John.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We really appreciate everyone taking the time to join us. This is an exciting project for us, for Balfour Beatty. We're the design builder, as well as the county. And it gives us an opportunity to really reach out to the community in a different way. So it's been an exciting project for us. There's a couple of individuals, we missed a slide. There's a couple of individuals I wanted to introduce. We have Bruce Capon, who is our Senior Vice President for our division over pre-construction and estimating, is joining us today. We have Ernest Deloach, who is our Vice President over legal. He's also the co-chair with myself with the Office of Economic and Small Business Development for this project. We also have Jeremiah Sizer, who's going to help us with some logistics. And then we have Tequesta, who is joining us, and Tequesta is part of our HR team, and she will be a point of contact. So at the end of the slides, there will be someone that you can reach out to and make sure there's a liaison between us and you, the CBEs. Thank you. We'll go to the next slide. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the project, it is owned by Broward County. Broward County is investing roughly $1.1 billion into this project. And they have hired Matthew Southwest, who is the developer out of Texas. Matthew Southwest, in return, has hired Balfour Beatty, the design builder for the project. And our portion of the contract is worth $780 million. It consists of the west expansion, which we'll go through in a minute, each of these, the east expansion. Between those two and the existing facility, when the project is complete, we'll have 1.2 million square foot of meeting space. We have the hotel, which is a new add, and that's about 1.1 million square feet as we sit today. It has 800 keys, hotel rooms. It also has an amenity deck on the 10th level with a pool and a bar and a restaurant, as well as on the 29th floor, there is a bar. And on the first floor, there's a couple of restaurant, bar, entertainment venues for both the convention folks as well as the community itself. The CBB building will be located on the northwest corner of the project at 17th and Eisenhower. And then the plaza, the area that you see there adjacent to the water, will have 3 restaurants. It's going to be a high-end park-like environment. And then The construction started in July of 2019, and we're expecting it to complete in 2024. And a little bit we wanted to talk about today is a lot of people are looking at COVID-19 and some of the impacts it's had on the community. For this particular project, we really think it opened up opportunities, especially for the Office of Economic and Small Business Development, more specifically, the current CBEs and future CBEs. When the project originally took off, we were looking at all of this work going on at the same time. Now that it's spread out and there's time for the community to get educated on it, we're looking at roughly 1 year from now bidding the rest of the work. So our goal and objective is to spend the time over the next year communicating to the market what the opportunities are. Bruce is going to talk a little bit about how we're going to break down some of the work into more bite-sized pieces for current CBEs, other CBEs that are currently registered with the Office of Economic and Small Business Development, as well as future CBEs that want to get enrolled, and it'll give them the 12-month period to be in the community in order to bid on the work. So we really think this is a great opportunity for the program and for future CBEs. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. So the project is broken down of the $780 million into 5 GMPs. So GMPs 1 and 2, we're building to the west of the existing facility. GMP 3 is the foundation for the hotels and the earthwork. And GMP 4 is the east expansion. And then 5 will be the vertical construction of the hotel. And we have a couple of slides moving forward to break that down. So if you could go to the next slide. So for those of you that participated in previous outreaches, you're aware that GMPs 1 and 2 bid last year and again this year in March. We have contracted that work and is currently under construction. So we're ongoing with that. The future opportunities, if you could go to the next slide, will consist of in fall of 2021. If you look on the right side of the screen, you see a little bit of an orange area that just represents the foundations for the hotel, but it will sit under the footprint of the hotel in its entirety. That would consist of all of the pile work, as well as the earthwork, and potentially the pile caps. So that's the first phase of that. All right, if you could go to the next slide. All right, GMP 4 is the east expansion and the CBB building. The east expansion as it sits currently is about 400,000 square feet. And the CBB building is just located on the northwest corner of the hotel. It's about 3 stories, or it is 3 stories. And we're sitting on about 25,000 square feet in the CBB. Now we're going to focus on breaking some of the areas down. In that 400,000 square feet is a 65,000 square foot ballroom. There's a 22,000 square foot junior ballroom, and then about 50,000 square feet of meeting space. In addition, there is a kitchen that will be located on the 3rd level of the east expansion that will feed eventually 1.2 million square feet of meeting space. So there is ample opportunity for some of the smaller CBEs as well as the more established CBEs in both the east and the CBB building. Okay, if we could go on to the next slide. The hotel is a little bit more intricate. The podium of the hotel is about half of the square feet and the tower is the other half. So just to simplify it, call the podium 500,000 square feet and the tower another 500 and some change thousand square feet. In those spaces, we're going to break down some of the work. For example, we could look at millwork and doing millwork within a specific restaurant or within the cafeteria area or the entertainment areas, right, to allow for some of the CBEs to bid on some of the smaller area of work. The tower itself, we can look at the guest rooms, we can look at areas outside of the guest rooms. Those are the pieces that we're trying to break out, as well as drywall, finishes, and every other aspect of it. As we move forward onto the pool deck area, as we go into the restaurant area, that's another area that's segregated from the rest of the space that we could break down even further, give an opportunity for the CBEs. Then when we look at the plaza and the 3 restaurants that sit in the plaza, each of those restaurants are 5,000 square feet. Again, we could look at the timing of when each of those restaurants will be built. There's 2 that are scheduled to be built during this time frame, and potentially the county will find the money for the 3rd one, but we very easily could break out the work that way as well. The reason why we wanted to educate you now instead of waiting till next year when it goes out to bid is to give all of you an opportunity to reach out and either partner with each other, reach out to the prime contractors that are going to be interested in bidding this in the fall of 21, and make sure that we're able to have plenty of outreaches and meet and greets and opportunities for you to ask the Office of Economic and Small Business Development, as well as Balfour Beatty, what those opportunities are going to be. And with that, I think the next slide turns it over to Bruce. So Bruce is our Senior Vice President over Pre-Construction and Estimating. Bruce, do you want to walk him through a little bit on the pre-con side?
Yeah, hold on one second, John. I'm going to start my video. All right. Yeah, as John mentioned, we are very excited to get this project started. I have been involved in this project for a few years, and it's always great to see a project come out of the ground and see all the work that you put into the project. So I know that a lot of you are excited as well. The next slide there, if we go to the next slide, what you're looking at here is just a sampling of some of the major bid packages that will be coming out for each of the different phases as John walked through. So for GMPs 3, 4, and 5 that are coming up, these will be the scopes of work that are going to be available to bid. Each one of these, though, will have some sub packages that are underneath them. For instance, John mentioned, like, we're probably going to split out a lot of the finished packages, such as millwork, painting, tile, into smaller packages to allow some of the smaller contractors to go compete for that work. We've been very successful with this on some of our past projects, and it's a great opportunity to have some smaller contractors come in and be able to expand their resumes and go on to bid some larger work as well. Each of these packages does have an estimator internally to Balfour Beatty that's assigned to each of these packages and is pretty intimate with the scope as well. So that's another opportunity that we could have in the future, is have some way to have the estimators in there available to answer questions that might come up as well. Let's go to the next slide. So as John mentioned, and earlier on about getting qualified as a CBE is probably one of the most important things, but also it'd be great if everyone could get qualified with Balfour Beatty as well. And what this does, it not only helps here on this Broward Convention Center job, but it also helps for some of our future work that we have around the area as well, that some of these trades could get involved with there too. There is a 30% minimum Broward CBE requirement for this project. Our goal is to exceed that. And I think in packages GMPs 1 and 2, we have exceeded our goal, and we're going to do every effort and put everything we have, all our efforts to exceed that goal here as well for the remaining packages. As John mentioned, bid dates will be as early as fall of 21 and probably going all the way through to spring of 22. And as we get closer, we'll have a more refined bid schedule of what packages are bidding when and who the contact people will be. But again, it does not hurt to reach out now to start getting involved and start knowing some of the players that are there. As far as the addenda and things like that, that'll kind of come out as the packages get issued. And then also to keep in mind, this is a prevailing wage certified payroll Davis-Bacon project. So there will be a published wage rates that need to be used for this project as well. Thank you.
Hey, if you guys could pop me back on, for some reason my video doesn't allow me to go back on. I did want to elaborate a little bit on where it says addenda and things like that. It is a design build project. And we are currently sitting at about 50% CDs across the board, with the exception, of course, of the west expansion that's under construction. We are advancing into the 90% CDs. We're advancing into the 90% CDs. And as we progress, it is a good time for those of you that are interested in looking at the project, that we might be able to set up a time to be able to see the documents as they sit today. The county's objective is to get through the 90% and then sometime next year release the full construction set of documents. So when we say addenda pending, it really is leaning around the documents and when the documents will be issued. And if we could turn it over to Jeremiah.
Hello, everyone. Also, I'm very excited about this project. Been working on this for a couple of years, so it's exciting to see some more of the work open up here shortly. You heard John talk a little bit about the overall schedule, that everything goes through about 2024. But to break that down into some smaller components, the existing work, which is the west expansion, GMPs 1 and 2, that work goes until October of 2021. And then the remainder of the GMPs, the hope is that everything's starting around the same time, and those would finish up around 2024. The hotel is the longest path of those GMPs, and that's about 30 months. The east expansion is about 27 months. The plaza is a little shorter duration, but it would have a lag start off the hotel somewhere between 8 to 12 months after the hotel started. It would begin, but then it would wrap up at the same time as the hotel. Next slide. A little bit of site logistics, just to orientate you to what you're seeing on the screen. On the right side, that would be north. That's 17th Street. Along the top of the page, we have Eisenhower. For access to this site, we do like to consider the neighbors and the traffic on 17th Street. So all of our major deliveries and of equipment and material, we do require to come through the port. You can see on site where the west expansion is located, and with that building being turned over in October of 2021, we are going to have construction going on around an occupied building for most of the GMP 3, 4, and 5 work. So definitely consideration as we're building the project. Parking is something you guys are going to want to consider. There is no parking on site. There is available parking in the existing Northport parking garage, but the parking in there is limited. There's also some parking underneath of the 17th Street Causeway, but again, very limited. So just something to consider. As far as cranes and hoisting for the hotel, we're currently planning on having 2 tower cranes, as well as, 3 tower cranes, as well as a crawler, and a buck hoist associated with the tower, as well as a buck hoist associated with the podium for materials and employees. On the east expansion, because of the size of the footprint, a tower crane was not feasible, so we're looking at a couple crawler cranes, but we will also have a buck hoist for that construction as well. And the last thing I wanted to mention is about laydown. Due to the amount of activities on site, the laydown on site will be very limited. So it's going to be a coordination effort to make sure that the materials are stored off site, but they're ready to hit the job when they're needed. All laydown on site would be very short term. That's all I have.
So we'll turn it back over to Sandy to talk a little bit about the OESBD. But before we do, I wanted to share with the team on the west expansion as we sit today. We're going to achieve around 36% CBE participation. And what that means, 36% of the dollars that are paid for the cost of work, the actual construction cost, will be paid to CBEs. And this was not done without the help of Sandy and his team, the entire Office of the Economic and Small Business Development, working with Balfour Beatty as we went through this. So it's been a phenomenal effort by all of us. This is not a small project, and you can imagine the efforts that we've all had to go through to ensure that we have that participation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sandy.
Thanks, John, and thanks, team. And certainly, as was mentioned in the beginning, definitely shoot your questions into the chat. While I'm speaking, John and Bruce and Lisa even and Jeremiah can also answer some of those, but there will be a Q&A at the end. But anything that we can answer and shoot back to you as a part of the chat, we'll do that as well. I'm going to briefly run through our office, and I'm going to try to get to the connect the dot, which is the piece that you need to be aware of, so you'll understand, especially when John was speaking, why are we telling you now, today, July 27th, about activity that won't occur until October 2021? There's a real reason with that. So again, this project has a 30% CBE goal, County Business Enterprise goal. So move to the next slide and I'll get started telling you more about our program. Move to the next slide, please. So this is us. This is our office in case this is your first time with one of our virtual workshops. We just want to let you know who we are relevant to the county. And at the end of the day, you can always get in touch with our office beyond just the workshops. And even though we're going through this COVID period, we're entertaining virtual calls, virtual meetings. At the end of the day, you can still find us. We can still communicate with you. And similar to today, we can still keep you engaged with county contracts and opportunities, as well as get you certified as a small business here in Broward. Next slide, please. And again, from our program perspective, it's important that you know, whether you're certified or not, this is a part of the county's vision and mission for our office. These are the goals as laid out by the county commission on how they want us to assure that there's real small business opportunities for our entrepreneurs, our small businesses, and for our residents who choose to become small businesses right here in Broward County. Next slide. And the reason why we do this, and you heard John allude to it on private industry side, Broward County is made up of a small business community. At the end of the day, 89% of the businesses in Broward are 20 employees or less. There's approximately 77,000 businesses in Broward County based on the last census business pattern numbers. And we recognize 89% have 20 employees or less. So it makes sense that the county is committed to businesses who are already in Broward, already working in Broward, hiring people in Broward, spending money in Broward, have employees who actually live in Broward. It makes sense that if the county has to procure good material and services anyway, why not buy some of the things that we have to buy anyway from small businesses in Broward? And why not make sure when major projects come along, like this convention center expansion and hotel, that we use small businesses in Broward to complete that project? This is why we do this. Next slide. Talk about our program, our local program, SBE CBE. That's the small business enterprise for my smallest of our two programs. And the CBE is the county business enterprise. Next slide. So understand that from SBE and CBE, those are our two local programs. And in a few slides, we'll tell you more about how to be an SBE, how to be a CBE, what those criteria are. But the connect the dot for me is always making sure that businesses who are certified with us, as well as businesses who are looking to get certified with us, as well as businesses who have no idea who we are and what we do, To do business with the government relevant to Broward County, I say it's 3 Ps: program, process, people. Program, it advantages you to understand that the county has an ordinance, Business Opportunity Act 2012, as amended in 2018 most recently, that stipulates all the rules for the utilization of small business. So the county has carved out as an ordinance. It's not one day yes, one day no, it's an ordinance. So we encourage all small businesses, especially those who get certified or who are certified, understand and know our program. But after you understand and know the program, especially if you decide to get certified in the program, for a business, and most of you do business in private industry, it's the same with government. Know the process. How does the county go about bidding? How often, based on your good, material, and service, do the county bid? Is there an opportunity to take a look at past bids? Can I identify who my competitors are? Not just prime contractors, other small vendors. How does the county and any of its agencies, including the Office of Economic and Small Business Development, help me to better understand how to become competitive in the process? Our office, our job is to help small businesses understand the process to engage procurement opportunities as established by the ordinance in the county's program. You must know the process, and I'll use John as an example. The things that they've shared or started sharing today. As a part of the process, you've heard him say that some of the bids, then you heard Bruce say, some of the future bids, they're already identifying the scope. So if I'm certified or not certified, if I have access to understanding the scope, if I can determine based on what it is they plan to do a year from now, where I have that criteria, where I have that capability, where my business can fit that scope, I now can begin to create my business model that allows me to engage that bid process. Some can be a direct bid. Some, as you heard John say, maybe you need to begin to identify who some of the prime and subprime contractors are. Maybe now you begin to create a relationship. You wouldn't want to wait for a series of bids that may come out October of 21. And yes, with Balfour Beatty, we'll certainly have next summer some more meet and greets. You don't want that to be the potential first time you introduce yourself to existing or potential primes who would be looking to fulfill that 30%. Process is saying right now, let me get as much information as I can about what they're doing and see if there's opportunities for me, as well as get as much information as I can about what they're planning to do and get as much information and begin to set the table. Begin to set my table. The people side, or the third P, is exactly what you're doing today. We are going to do meet and greets. You always got access to our office. As a part of the process, you definitely want to understand the purchasing staff and how to engage purchasing, how to utilize BidSync. The people portion is wherever there's an opportunity for you to garner or gather additional information, wherever there's an opportunity for you to speak to someone who can share more light about what some future opportunities are. And let's be clear about this P called people. This is not about trying to find someone who you can say, hey, can you get me in? It's a competitive process. We get to tell all of our certified businesses the same thing. We can give you all of the information. We can make sure that you are aware of the process. We can make sure you understand the program that supports you as a small business. We want you to use the people to nurture relationships. But nurture relationships to go back and dot your I and cross your T and put the best package together to either bid or to create the best nurturing relationship where someone says, I want to bring you on my team as a subcontractor. We do workshops called Certified Now What? That's when I really focuses on the 3 Ps, the program, the process, and the people. But I wanted to use that as an example because if you understood the county's program, that's our office in this program. If you learn more about the process, what you're hearing today about future bids, existing activity, future primes who are going to be needing and looking for other small businesses, And then if you begin, like John and Jeremiah and Bruce and Lisa, begin to identify the people where you can ask some of those questions in the chat room and you can get honest answers about how to engage a process, or if your services are needed, or do you still have time to get certified. Understanding the people puts you in a position to be competitive. And a workshop like this helps you to get there. So just imagine, for the information you heard today, this website or this webinar will eventually be on our website. But for the information you heard today and the names you got today, it allows you to begin to introduce yourself as well as take a look at those future opportunities before that person who didn't see this webinar today, who's not going to discover it till November of this year on our website and then follow it up, they're certainly going to contact them. But you have that opportunity today. Understand the 3 Ps. Next slide. So for our small business program, as we just mentioned, I got SBE and I got CBE. Bottom line, you need to be a business in Broward at least 1 year. Your personal net worth as an owner has to be 1.32 million or less, not counting your primary residence. Your business has to provide a useful function. What's a useful function? Something that the county buys that you do on a regular basis. If we buy it and you do it, that's demonstrating a useful function. But you also, as a part of that year, have to show a continuing operating presence. It's okay, even with COVID, if your office location has moved, we're going to be more concerned. Does the business reside in Broward? Has it been in Broward for a year? Next slide. And with that, you'll see from my smallest of small SBE Reserve to my CBE program, SBE is the opportunity when the county procures a good, material, or service for $250,000 or less. This is the manner by which we not only go through that process with purchasing, but this is when you as a small business would get certified if you fit this. If your personal net worth is $1,320,000 or less, you still got to be a business in Broward at least a year. You're about 15 employees or less, and the revenue of your business. If you're in construction, you're doing $3 million a year or less over 3 years. If you're in contractual services, you're doing $1 million or less on an average of 3 years. And if you're a professional consultant, you're doing $500,000 or less on an average of 3 years. If you fit into that category when you do the initial certification application, we're liable to certify you as a SBE. A CBE is someone, once again, whose personal net worth is 1.32 million, not counting their primary residence, their home. But then as a business, you're still providing that useful function. And then you have about 25 employees or less. But on the revenue side of the company, if you're averaging 5 million or less over 3 years, and if your industry is in construction, 9 million or less over 3 years, you're eligible to get certified. And we do have the scenario, sometimes when you get certified, you're certified based on commodity vendors and others, SBE and CBE. But again, when you submit the application, based on your industry, based on your activities, based on your financials, we'll then tell you if you qualify for SBE or CBE or both. Next slide. Completing the application, again, it's online. You get to pull that down. And what I always ask folks, and you did this when you used to put the toys together for your kids, read all the instructions first. Read the entire program instructions. Then understand your capacity and your eligibility, and then begin to complete that. And again, even our office has regular certification workshops to help you fill out the application. We even have a YouTube video that you can look at tonight or tomorrow or this weekend that will also walk you through our certification application. Next slide. This is the year that we're calling, and it's actually going to be the next 2 to 3 years, Get Certified. We're doing a Get Certified campaign. We're doing a capacity building campaign, as I just alluded to. We have webinars. We got online YouTube. There's opportunity still for you to call and get some one-on-one consult. We need you to get certified. Prime Contractors can have firms that they work with on a regular basis discover that that small business is eligible, we encourage them to tell that small business to come get certified. If you're interested, especially in this project and all the things the county is moving forward with, if you want to participate, use one of our tools and resources and/or webinars to come get certified. Try not to wait to that October date you heard John talking about when they're going to roll out some additional bids. You don't want to wait to that date. Come get certified now. And yes, to get certified is free. Yes, to become a county vendor, to make sure that you always get the bids through BidSync, is free. All it takes right now is your time and your commitment. Next slide. This is why we need you to get certified. Less than 700 businesses currently are certified in my local program, CBE, SBE, and we also administer a federal program. Exclusively for minority and women-owned businesses, we operate under the federal government 49 CFR, the DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and the ACDBE, Airport Concessions, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. So certainly reach out to my office if you're a minority or women-owned business and you want to understand where the funding comes from for those projects. At the end of the day, the Department of Transportation, whenever the Department of Transportation spends money, there's an opportunity when transit here at the county, when the airport here at the county have projects and they're spending Department of Transportation money, our office gets to use a federal methodology to determine if 5, 10, 20, 30, 35% of what they do and spend must be spent with those certified DBEs. And for the ACDBEs, in short, those are the folks that you see managing operations at the airport. So again, contact our office. We'll tell you more about that. But for the bigger picture, we are on a Get Certified campaign and a capacity growing campaign because I need to have far more than 669 on the short side of 700 certified small businesses in the county. Next slide. And the reason why I need to have more small businesses, we're already talking about this convention center over $1 billion. You need to know there's $1 billion of activity that's being prepared to go into the port. There's a new master plan for the airport where there's another $3 billion and some change to work within the activities at the airport. And we also got this thing going on these days called surtax. And that's really an opportunity for the next 29 plus years to make sure that transportation operation, transportation services, infrastructure throughout all the 31 cities in Broward, and the future of rail. That's right, and the future of rail. We have a dedicated penny that's going to afford us a revenue stream to do those type of projects. So that 669, less than 700 certified firms you saw that's currently in my directory, when I talk about the convention center, the airport, the port, surtax projects, and the fact that on an average the last few years the county spent over $1 billion in goods, materials, and services in other areas for a county need, yes, I need more small businesses because again, knowing the program, you know that the county has an ordinance that says at least 25% of what Broward buys, we need to buy with small businesses in Broward. This project is a 30% project. That airport's gonna be at least a 30% project. That surtax is a 30% project. So now you get the drift. If the county is putting 25, 30, and 35% goals on all of these major projects, I need small businesses to help fulfill those opportunities with our prime contractors. Next slide. This is important to us in terms of the sharing of information. Census counts for us because at the same time we're doing this project with Balfour Beatty, at the same time Balfour Beatty is going to not only work to assure that small businesses are participating, Balfour Beatty is also going to aid me in assuring that residents, local labor, has a chance to participate. But for some of the things that the county does and our cities do to service our residents, it is about the census. It is about making sure that we can be a part of those dollars, those trillions over the next decade, that Broward gets its share. God forbid we have another COVID. There still has to be revenue that can be identified to still support some of the needy, some of the unemployed, some of those who are having services even on the educational side as well as the employment side. So again, we wanted to make sure, not just sneak it in, we are intentionally putting it in, how important it is for our businesses and their employees, for those employees and their families, all to make sure as a county, we are completing that census. That's important for us to say, no matter what workshop we're doing, we need to continue to scream that. Next slide. So with that, the key for us is finding different ways for you to stay engaged. We got our social media platforms. Staff tells me if you took your phone, your smartphone, and it hovered over that barcode would then click and allow you then to always receive communications from us about what's going on. We got a subscriber list every Wednesday. We send out a newsletter about 6:15, and it tells you about information like Balfour Beatty. It gives you hot tips on upcoming bids. It talks about what we're doing with our cities. It gives information to our small businesses about where they can find other opportunities other than just the county. And I always try to do a piece to make sure that I'm not only empowering and encouraging and trying to continue the morale for our small businesses, but I love in my directly speaking, the directors directly speaking, to just be honest about where we are and some of the things you have to do as a business to engage. We get good questions, good, bad, and indifferent. We accept all comments, all commentary. And again, the county buys a lot. We don't buy everything. And at the end of the day, I never promise that anyone's going to win a contract. I'm not purchasing. But I can guarantee that the information we share will be valuable for you to then put together your business model, your program on how you want to compete for county contracts. At the end of the day, as a business, it's no different than what you do in private industry. You're competing with someone for those opportunities. We're trying to open the door to make sure that you know how to compete on the government side. So staying engaged, this is just some of the ways you can stay engaged with this office. Next slide. And with that, I'm going to take it back to another team member of Balfour Beatty and introduce you to Mr. Ernest and Mr. Ernest Deloach. And Ernest will share with you more information about not just the overall aspects of Balfour Beatty and this partnership and this relationship. He'll tell you about a couple other team members, but he'll tell you his commitment to Broward County, to the project, and more importantly, to this office and small businesses. So welcome, Ernest, and take it over.
Hey, thank you, Sandy. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Ernest Deloach. I'm Vice President of Legal for Balfour Beatty here in the Florida Division. And as John mentioned, he and I are co-partnering and really spearheading our effort with a number of other significant team members I'm going to introduce you to here at Balfour for our CBE commitment. I think Bruce Capon put it best a little earlier when talking about pre-con. We have a 30% CBE participation obligation, but our goal is to do better, meaning the 30% is the floor. And with people like Sandy and his office assisting us and the great businesses we've come to know and understand and that we know will continue to meet as we move forward, we know we're going to get there. You know, Sandy, it's kind of interesting, you know, why we're doing this meeting and why we're sharing what we're sharing at this time. It's not far from my view. Out to the left is a thunderstorm here in Orlando where I'm sitting. And I saw some flashes of lightning, and it occurred to me, you know, the tricky thing about lightning is you never really know where it's going to strike. And even if you did know where it was going to strike, you really couldn't catch it because it's too fast. And I think what we've made clear to you in this presentation is that we're telling you where the lightning is going to strike. We're telling you exactly where you need to be in order to be in a position to be able to not only improve yourself, your company, your entire community. And not only do you know where the lightning is going to be, it's actually slowed down, as John Parker made clear, for reasons that we're all suffering from, and friends and family and colleagues of ours we know are having to endure, that being COVID. If there's one good thing that's come, it actually has begun to slow the project down. It's allowed us to break it into smaller pieces. It's allowed us to be more thoughtful about how it is we get the work done. So you know where the lightning is. The lightning slowed down. It's up to you to catch it. And we're going to do everything in our power to help you do so. Can I go to the next slide, please? So you're already familiar with the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. You know that Balfour Beatty is the design builder on the job. And I like to share just a few more personalities of folks that are behind the scenes that you may not know are there, but are going to be really significant to making sure we all meet not just our commitment, but meet our goal of full participation on this outstanding county project. Next slide, please. So as we get to our Q&A, probably what you don't know is if you look at the little marker at the bottom of the screen, it says Q&A. Those numbers have continued to go down from 27 to 25. Gosh, now it's 21 and 20. That's because those questions are being answered. They're being answered by a number of folks, one of whom isn't pictured, but Lisa Colon, who is a longtime 20-plus year attorney in Broward County. She's on not only our CBE participation management retention team, but she's also helping us with outreach. And it just so happens she knows county contracts as well as anyone. So she's also part of our external legal team. Lisa's answering a number of your procurement questions as we speak. So Lisa Colon is a member of our team. Also not pictured, is a good friend and a colleague, Ms. DeQuesta, who is working not only as an HR partner here at Balfour Beatty, but DeQuesta also has a background that she's a resident of Broward County. She's active in the community, and she has a passion for community engagement, especially for minority businesses. She's going to be very helpful in helping us speak to you and share information as we move throughout this project. Her information is not attached right now, but look forward to getting some information following this webinar as how to contact DeQuesta, who will get information to the rest of our team as necessary. You've met John, you've met Bruce, you've met Jeremiah. There are countless others that can't be named who are really the driving force and the engine that keeps us all running, not to mention those great folks in the field who are putting work in place and are actually creating this unbelievable project as we watch and as we see it. So I'll stop sort of chatting now, understanding that while I sit here in Orlando, I spent a great deal of time in Broward. In fact, I drove from Broward today, going the opposite direction, coming back this way. Looking forward to when times are healthier, when it's safer, that we can actually get together in person as we've done in other outreach events, that we can see each other, talk to each other, celebrate, obviously, our successes, and work through our challenges as, again, we move forward in creating this unbelievable designed and constructed building. So with that, John, I think we're at a point where we maybe now can take some questions if our administrators believe that's appropriate.
Yeah, that would be appropriate. And John and Ernest, and we should probably do this because one of the things we're going to definitely do, even if we close out the session, we're going to get to answer each one of the questions. That's one of the things that we like to do. We want to make sure that we can be responsive. But Ernest, you can go through, Lisa can go through, John can go through, I'll go through. And if you pick one or two that's not, if you pick one or two that's worth answering for the total group because it brings more clarity, then that's certainly something we want to dive into. Like I'm going to take as an example, I have Rodriguez, I think it says B-A-R-B-Y, Barbie. Will there be public involvement opportunities? So here's the thing about, let's drive about public involvement opportunities. First of all, from the county's perspective, you've heard today that we have a small business goal. The other part that I alluded to, but I want to go ahead and say it even louder, is that Balfour Beatty is working with us to also assure that there's local hiring on this job. But Balfour Beatty is also working with us and our partner CareerSource, OIC, and others to assure that there's also hard to hire on this job. That may be some individuals without the college degree, without the GED, who may have just come out of prison within the last year or so. We're going to try to make sure that Broward County residents have a chance and an opportunity that maybe this job, maybe this construction site leads them even to one of the Broward's future, or what is rolling out now, apprenticeship programs. So there's going to be public involvement from that regard, but in addition, post-construction, post the expanding of the convention center and the new hotel, we're working with our commission to assure that as we work with our flag partner, Omni, we're looking for other professional opportunities for businesses to get engaged post-construction with the Omni. We're looking for future apprenticeship and scholarship opportunities for our residents and our public to get involved with the Omni. And there's another part of this footprint that if the building construction goes to its entirety, there's potentially even a chance that we're going to build that type of an attraction destination venue where some of the vendors will also be not married to the hotel, not married to construction, but individual independent vendors who will also be participating in this project post-construction long-term. So those are just some of the ways the county has been looking at how can we also engage in this project and process, more public involvement. And again, we're doing this in conjunction with our partner, the city of Fort Lauderdale. That's where the facility is actually going to be in terms of one of our city. We're working with our hotel association. Everyone is actually supportive and in favor of exactly what the county is looking to do to bring this new vision to fruition and to create opportunities for throughout Broward County for all of our residents and as many businesses as possible. So that would be how I would be answering your question relevant to public involvement opportunities. Those are the opportunities that we see, and more of that will be spoken to as we go down the process and as we begin to get to the hotel component and its operation. Even more public opportunities are going to be made available. Anyone else have a question that they've seen that they would like to expound on?
Hi, Sandy.
Go ahead, Lisa. Sorry.
Sure. Yes, there was a question in the chat regarding the 1 year existing business, and the person couched it in terms of how a COVID affects that requirement. So I wanted to see if you had some thoughts on that. If your agency has given any thought to how you would handle a business who may have started earlier this year but really hasn't been engaged because of COVID.
So, and we have given thought to that. And it's one of the things that we're talking about right now as a county, as we get ready to come out of the summer recess and take a look at not only the activities and unfortunately this year dealing with COVID. I've had that question in a couple of other workshops. So similarly, when the county takes a look at the continuing operating presence, and I think you may have heard me say this when I was giving that example. It's okay if you had multiple locations. We do know now there's potentially a business that could have got started in December with all the world's best intentions. And then COVID brought it to its knees in March. And then unfortunately, this brand new business may have decided to close the doors in June. And this business may find some additional support and want to open up again in November. But that continuing operating presence was broken. That is something that we're going to take under consideration this year. Can't give a solid answer because I can't tweak an ordinance. The commission has to change an ordinance. But we do understand that COVID is going to have that kind of an impact. Someone just deciding business wasn't good last year and they stopped and they started, well, you got to go back and get your whole year in. COVID is a new beast, and we do know that those are the type of things we're going to look at. So before I say yay or nay, just understand that is one of the things that we're looking at. Some businesses that was already on the path of having a successful year may have been interrupted or shut down and may not get going for another 2 to 3 years. And to that point, they want to know, hey, what happens to me? That's what we plan to find out this fall and try to find a way to hold you harmless for what our rule is. So that is something we're actually looking at. Thanks for that question.
Yeah, I think another one that's good is, and it's a common question, it's the bonding capacity. What we're encouraging the smaller contractors to do is find a prime contractor that can then bring them underneath their bonding capacity.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why we're having the dialogue now. And I love Ernest's lightning analogy, but it really is. It's the time now to do the research, find a partner, find that middle ground that you guys can get to in a joint venture between one another, or with a prime contractor that can get you that bonding capacity.
Mm-hmm. There was another question, John, sort of in that same vein. The question was, should bids be submitted directly to Balfour Beatty or to subcontractors? And the answer to that question is yes and yes. If you are a CBE that's in a position to bid directly on a package as a prime sub, then you should absolutely submit your bid to Balfour directly. And once the solicitations are made available, they'll tell you exactly where to send your bid documents. But as John said, if you're a smaller CBE, or if you're a CBE with less bonding capacity, well, then now is the time to begin partnering. Again, you know where the lightning is going to be. Prepare yourself. After this event, we'll start sharing other information for events for smaller breakouts as to particular packages and scopes of work. We would anticipate, with the help of our prime subs, many of whom attended our first outreach event at the kickoff for this project, that our prime subs will also be available virtually. And we'd like to start having some partnering sessions or some meet and greets. So where CBEs are allowed to meet and interact and network with prime subs who are looking for CBEs. One of the things we didn't make clear is that this is not just a OESBD and Broward County and Balfour Beatty commitment. It is a commitment project-wide. Well, what does that mean? It means that the obligation to meet our CBE goals that Balfour has taken on and we've taken on proudly are obligations we have also passed on to our prime subs. That means when a prime sub comes to Balfour Beatty looking to do business and bid on a package of work, they are asked to bring with them in their bid 30% CBE participation. Not 30% CBE participation that's intended to be used, that might get used, that possibly could be used, but actual letters of intent that signify they are committed to the use of a CBE. So there are multiple bites at the apple. If you can't, because there's not capacity or a scope that you can bid on directly to Balfour, find a prime sub. If you're a supplier, we can buy direct at times, but you can also find a prime sub or a sub-tier sub as a CBE material supplier. You may also be considered for CBE participation. There really are a number of opportunities, a number of roads to get to the destination. And these events are what we love because we can help sort of sketch them out and show you the way before in fact you need to get there.
And then we've actually created opportunities outside of the project site and in our office. Our office is located just on the north side of the 17th Street Causeway. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's the old Art Institute. But we've been able to partner with some of the local catering companies, our paper products, our supplies, even the lighting fixtures. It was in, for art display, they had a different lighting inside the office. So we had to replace the lighting in there. And we had a small CBE come in and we contracted them for $50,000. So there's a multiple ways for us to skin the cat. I think a little bit of dialogue and some creativity is going to open up all of those doors. Another question that came up was insurance. Insurance goes a little bit along with bonding, but there is an opportunity on the east expansion of the project moving forward that it's Broward County is providing an OSIP, an owner-controlled insurance program. And they are also picking up the workers' comp for the entire project. That should open up doors for some of you in your opportunity to bid on the work that you need to think about. Now, some of the smaller groups, because of the magnitude of the job, it does make sense to go under a prime, but in some cases, we can help encourage those primes to subdivide that work up maybe between multiple CBEs.
Another one that I saw, we had a question about, do you need to be a Broward business to bid? So let me say this part slowly. Bids can be provided or submitted from anyone, anywhere. You do recognize Balfour Beatty as our prime is going to select who's best as their primes to work with them. And then even those primes they identified, they're making sure their primes understand as a total project. They're trying to, as you heard Ernest say, not just meet and or exceed this 30% goal. So whether you are a prime, I was asking that question, or a small business, you can bid from anywhere. We are encouraging our local certified small businesses or local businesses who want to get certified to get in the game and participate in helping us assure that there's enough small businesses for Ernest and John and his team to identify to get on this contract. So yep, you can bid from anywhere, and if your numbers are good, they make their own decisions. We never tell them who to use. But there's a small business component that we're saying no matter who they use, we're hoping 30% or more of that happens with certified small businesses. There was another one about a marketing and communication question. The good thing about these virtual workshops is that I can answer and they can answer themselves about future marketing and communication bids. But you happen to be asking that when crossing my desk last week for a signature later this week. The county's going back out again itself for marketing, advertising, and communication opportunities for major projects, surtax you heard me talk about, and for future opportunities that are even unseen. We're also deciding as a county, hot tip, it ain't even in writing yet, but it's true. We are deciding as a county, we're gonna do a twofer. I'm gonna have a library of CBEs. So when the county's different agencies, including major projects, want to get some advertising, marketing, or communication done, they can get portions of it done exclusively through my certified CBEs. But we also know the county has a need to buy big advertisement, big print, sometimes big radio, big media. Not that my small businesses can't, some just don't have that range. And because of that, the second tier is going to be for prime contractors. And even that one, I haven't signed it yet, but even that's going to have a 25, 30, or 35% goal. So there's getting ready to be on the record marketing, advertising, promotion, and communication contractual opportunities. There's going to be a bid that if I finish this week, that bid might hit the street within 2 weeks, 3 weeks max, but closer to 2 weeks. And one is going to be trying to find out if I have enough CBEs to do it. And the second one is going to be for some major prime contractor who can win this bid, even from New York, but 25, 30, or 35% of what he or she does is still going to need my small businesses. So though you were probably asking that question relevant to Balfour Beatty and the Convention Center, and I'll let one of those team members answer that, you do need to know we're shopping right now as we speak for small businesses to be a part of this process for our advertising and marketing campaign coming up. John or Ernest, to that specific, are there any marketing or communication opportunities they were asking about?
You know, we're always trying to find some small opportunity every time we turn a corner on this project. For example, we're going to be advertising for the bids. It may be an opportunity where it may not be a large contract, but it's something that we could reach out, Sandy's or your team, and give a heads up before we put it on the street, and maybe we could use some of those services. Absolutely. Now, there's a couple of other questions they had in there around training and mentorships and things like that. The project is a prevailing wage job. So it's a Davis-Bacon is the prevailing wage here on the project. And it has apprenticeship programs built into it, but the way I looked at or took that question is Balfour looking at training or apprenticeship programs as they come in for some of these small contractors? And to me, that's what this program is. We're creating opportunities to educate all of you on what you could bid. And there may be an idea out there that we haven't thought of, and I'm sure there is, from some of the companies that may think of how we could break this pie up into even more pieces to create those opportunities. The CM on the job, the construction management, is being handled by the county, and they have a group that's already contracted to do that work. But we could potentially look at certain aspects of the job to break it up to how we would manage it using a labor type force environment or things like that. So we're open to all that creativity. We don't have anything specifically set now, but those are all dialogues that can take place.
Mm-hmm.
Any others that anyone saw?
There's another one that caught my attention. I think we hit it, but I'm going to say it again if we have. Then just let me know. Are we doing work outside of construction? And Sandy, you've said it a few times. We've said it a few times. We're trying to find opportunities in our office for anything that we need on the job itself. The boat show's coming up. There's opportunities that I know Sandy has worked with Informa and things like that. The shows that are coming through, the space, the food service, everything that we have that's post-construction. But during construction, we're always open-minded. If somebody has a creative idea, please send that out. And we want to make sure that Ernest, that everybody has Tequesta's contact. We have a conduit between all of us, and that's Tequesta, to take all those questions, formulate them together, and send it out to the team. We just need to make sure that everybody has her contact information.
Yeah, I guess I would just say as well, following your thought, John, is that, this is the season of creativity. If COVID's taught us anything, it's taught us how we have to continue to be efficient and remain as best we can, maintain operations in a really difficult environment that nobody could foresee. Now, what that does, I think, again, looking at the positive, man, is it really teaches you how to pivot. It teaches you how to react. It teaches you how to be not so commonplace. It teaches you to be grateful, right? And so and I love the questions that are coming in, but maybe the better question for many of the persons asking is, can I do, is maybe the better question is, well, can't you do? Why don't you be creative? Let us know what it is you think we need that we haven't thought of. We're going to have packages that are created, but John's made very clear. We used a CBE real estate broker to help find our office. We used a CBE painter. We've used a CBE electrician to rewire and install better lighting. We have a CBE janitorial service. We've tried to use CBE caterers where we could, but is there a local office supply company that's a CBE or that purchases as one or can supply? Is there a beverage or coffee? We're drinking coffee.
We're using the supplier already.
We're using a supplier already, so that was taken. Sorry, right? Are there other opportunities we haven't thought of that you have already? That is the joy and the wonder and the value of entrepreneurs. They find a problem and they fix it. Sometimes they're so ahead of the game, they create the solution before somebody even knows that they need it. So we would offer for you to share with us your best ideas of how to move forward in construction of this project, maintenance of our office, and operations through the end. And we will promise you that we will leverage every opportunity that makes sense for the county and for the project.
Another question that came up that caught my attention is it low bid or is it best value? And we want to make sure that the message gets out. We're looking for the right partners. And that means a lot of different things. And it does add to the equation and the entrepreneurial concept that Ernest is speaking of. But the other thing I really like about it is the county is very supportive of the CBE program. So when we're able to get prime contractors or CBEs and we go well beyond that 30% and they're the right partner, that's when low bid is not so important to us. If you want to be a commodity and you want to get the bare minimum of 30%, then that's kind of what we're going to get. But we have a lot of folks that have gotten really creative. Our mechanical contractor is in the high 40% range right now. We're working with our electrical contractor to be creative. They've guaranteed a minimum of 30, but they want to beat it too. They're on board. They have their own team that's bringing ideas to us to try to go beyond the 30%. But if you want to find a way to find a partner and get paid well for that, that's the creativity that we're looking for. So we're not just a commodity. We're looking for the right partner.
John, I'm going to take one of these questions and throw it at you. We had a question regarding ADA and accessibility, and we know as a part of the larger package and how bids go out. And most of the time, that kind of stuff really isn't separated out. At the end of the day, you know where the internal inspections are and the code that are actually required. Our folks come at the end to make sure that you met those federal codes and guidelines. Do you do or have you done anything special with ADA where someone who simply say, hey, that's my background, that's what I do as a vendor, is there that kind of an opportunity, or what kind of advice would you give that kind of a person?
Well, first I want to say is that I've only been around design build or design assist for the last 20 something years with the company. And the very first thing I advise the design team is I don't want to have a conversation with them until I have a fire, life safety, and ADA consultant on board. This was the very first conversation that we had. Some of you may be familiar with SLS, Michael Sheehan, and he is our consultant for both fire, life safety, and ADA.
Okay.
The very next conversation that we had was, I don't want to have any more conversations until we meet with the local fire marshal and the local building department to have those specific questions around ADA and accessibility fire and fire life safety. So yes, absolutely. And that is paramount to us. You know, one of the things that we really specialize in, we may be Balfour Beatty, and people look that up and you see a large organization across the US or even maybe even in the world, but we really specialize in being good neighbors. And being good neighbors means a lot of things, but first and foremost is respecting the community from a life safety standpoint, as well as the community for those folks that are hard to get around. And we want to make sure that everybody understands that we're here for the community, we're supporting the CBE program, and yes, all of that is very important to us and paramount, and is the backbone of our organization.
Okay.
I have a question that I'm going to pitch to Sandy that's on the chat, and it's the importance of a CBE subcontracting or buying supplies from another CBE vendor, and how that is important in getting the CBE credits for the project.
So here's the thing about CBE relevant to our program specifically, and relevant to a prime contractor utilizing a CBE. You heard me say it during certification, but now I'm going to show it as a part of an application. When we also say useful function, a CBE must be providing a useful function in order for it to count for the prime. When we do our program externally, outside contractors, and I have a bid that's a CBE Reserve, that's when a CBE has to make sure 100% of the project is done by CBEs. So one of my CBEs can say, Mr. McDonald, I can do 80% of that job. I got somebody else who can do 15%. I got somebody else who can do 5%. Both of them are CBEs. That satisfies my CBE Reserve. All the work is being done by CBEs. All CBEs are being paid. It's all negotiated and ran by that prime. In this instance, if you are a CBE and you're latching on to Balfour Beatty or one of their primes as a sub, you have to deliver that service. That's your useful function. Your useful function as a CBE can't be my CBE / made up broker. You can't come saying you do something as my CBE and technically you don't do it. You use another CBE, or if they're looking for supplies and you're the person who do the installing and can't provide the supplies, you can't then be paid to do the installing and the supplies, nor can you go get the person to do the supplies. Every CBE has to have a useful function, and that function has to be tied directly to what they're going to do for the prime. So in short, you can't get the contract as a sub and a portion of what you need to do based on what you just committed to that prime, you're gonna get, whether it's supplies or other work, you're gonna get from another CBE. You can't. You must provide that useful function. Okay? So look, at this stage, I want to thank all of our team, county team, and especially the Balfour Beatty team for the time they've given us this afternoon to share this information. And again, staff, I won't rush them because I'm liable to say Friday, they'll say Monday, but this webinar will be placed on our website. We want you to have information. We want you to understand the questions that was asked, the answers that was given. We want to make sure from myself to Ms. McCall behind the scene, including John and Ernest and their entire team, you have the names, the contacts, and the email information. And we want to make sure you stay engaged. One way to stay engaged, as I answer someone's question, you need to make sure you're getting our Wednesday newsletter. And for someone else who I answer the question, you don't want to just be getting my newsletter. We try not to flood your emails with newsletters every day or every hour. We got this main newsletter that's on Wednesday. But I also need you to open the newsletter. Wink, wink. All this technology, I know you do know that I can know if you open it or not. Some of you had conversations with me and it's been like Martians. And at the end of the day, I had to remind you, I went and took a look and I saw that you've been getting it for 5 months and you've only opened it twice. I'm saying all that to say, we're going to be sharing valuable information. We're going to be giving you those hot tips. We're going to be telling you when the process roll out. Keep in mind, the county utilizes, one of the questions asked, the county utilizes BidSync. So when the county's putting up something for bid, it's on BidSync. Balfour Beatty is not using BidSync. They have a process. They have a portal. They tell you where to go get the information, where to upload the information and submit your bid. That's their process. But we, with them, we advertise and promote their bids. So you'll still know from us. But you also heard earlier from one of the team members, Balfour Beatty not only wants you as a business to get certified with us, they want you to come get pre-certified with them. And it's not the first time I've heard them say that. I've heard them say that at both of the previous face-to-face meet and greets. One that we did over on Sistrunk, one that we did in the beginning over at the convention center. They want you to get certified or pre-certified with them, because even if it's not about this project, and this is what in my Certified Now What class I teach all of our small businesses, if it's not about today, it's planning and planting that seed for tomorrow. So when they tell you come get pre-certified, if an opportunity doesn't present itself today, and then they get another contract or they're on another project, they start with the folks that's in their system. They have to find me to do additional outreach, but they do have a system. So I'm encouraging every small business certified with us, as we did at their first workshop. Get certified, or better yet, get pre-certified with them so that they not only know who you are and what you provide, it sounds like it's a direct link to hearing more from them other than just this project, but yes, including this project. So we want all of you to really pay attention to information, because that's what it's about. At the end of the day, even without promising whether you win or whether a prime selects you or not, it's this information and how you use it that's going to be valuable to the commitment of you looking to grow your business. You can't grow it if you're not in the game. You can't be in the game if you're not getting the information. So this is us extending that invitation, extending that opportunity to make sure you are aware of what opportunities are in front of you. And this one tonight just happened to be specifically around Balfour Beatty as our partner on behalf of Matthew Southwest and our convention center expansion and our new hotel. So again, I want to thank John. I want to thank Jeremiah. I want to thank Lisa. I want to thank Bruce. I want to thank Ernest. I want to thank all of our folks behind the scene for this. And certainly, I'm done. John and Ernest, if you got any last comments, or Lisa, feel free to do so. But I want to thank you on behalf of our office for taking the time out this evening to be with us and to get more information about this major project here in Broward County and how you can participate. But we will take the last words from Balfour Beatty.
It's just one quick thing, and then John, you close this out. We've promised it over and over in the chat section. We've actually provided the contact information for Mr. Cuesta de Souza, who is our Balfour ally and who will be a liaison with us and OESBD and the CBE program. So any questions that we did not get to, any particular ideas you'd like to share with us regarding services that you believe might be helpful to the project, please contact Mr. Souza. We'll also include this information in future correspondence, but I wanted to make sure we at least provided it here before we closed out tonight, Sandy. And thanks again for the opportunity.
That's great. John?
First, thank you so much. Your entire team is great to work with, Sandy. You make it a lot easier for us to do the right thing by having the right people in the seat. So your entire team is just an amazing group to work with. The other thing I wanted to say in closing is that this isn't a one and done conversation. We're talking about having another communication out at the end of September, and we want to continue the dialogue leading into next year. So maybe some of you don't have an idea today. Some of you will be able to reach out and communicate between now and then, but we're going to have a more detailed breakout sometime in September, and that will be advertised out through the ball as well.
Okay, so with that, and again, Danberg, McCall, and all the rest of our team, thank everyone for the time put in, for coordinating this and running us through it again. Thank you, Savika. And for all of you, be safe. Wear your mask. I'm not going to get started tonight. Wear your mask. And we love you. Stay safe. Take care. Good night.